Well, good evening, everyone. We have a small number of people on the call tonight. So I see Brett has joined us now. We have 3 or 4 people. So I thought what we could do here is, I know that some of you may have some specific questions. There's 3 specific insurance programs I can talk about for us tonight. Our general liability coverage, our participant accident, and then the directors and officers package that is now available for clubs to look at and perhaps purchase. So I thought before I do a general, we've got Chris and Ed, and I see Brett and Kate. Are there any questions up front, any specific questions, or do you want me to just start with an overview? So anybody have any initial questions to begin with? All right, well, we've got someone, there's someone in the background. If you could put your mute on, we can hear a little bit of some of the background noise, but I'll just give you a general overview of where we're at right now. We have switched carriers effective December 1st, working with a group now, Dissinger Reed, division of Hub International. And they provide for us 2 main insurances. They provide for us our general liability insurance. And the general liability insurance is a program that is offered to all of our member clubs. So your club, as a member club of USA Curling, will have access to the general liability insurance. And so a couple of things with this program that I want to mention to you that are similar from the past, but also some additions that we've included this year. So your general liability insurance, basically, it covers you. I'll give you a scenario as an example. And most clubs also will have their own insurance. You'll have a building insurance, fire insurance, probably an inland marine. You'll have some of your own general liability. So you have your own general liability, and ours will work as a secondary. But I'll give you a scenario. So let's say that an individual parks in your parking lot, walks up to your curling rink, and there's some ice at the door. They slip, they fall, they injure themselves. There's no sign warning that there is ice. There's no ice melt. They get an injury from this. And this is when this insurance would kick in. And our general coverages, and Gabby, can you pull up the general liability insurance, the first page, please, on our GL?
Yep.
So our coverage initially gives us an initial $1 million of coverage. And you'll see these, the limits as Gabby posts them, and expand it a little bit, Gabby. So you get an initial 1 million of coverage. But what we did this year is, working with our brokers, we were able to secure an excess policy, which now gives you an additional 2 million. So for each of your events, each of your general liability events, you now are covered with a 3 million limit per occurrence, where in the past it was a 1 million limit per occurrence. And you can see some of the items there that Gabby's showing what it does for you. The general deductible is $1,000 for the club and for the incident. But again, we've been able to, with a really good price for us as an organization, increase your general liability, so that instead of it being a max out at 1 million, and we've seen some cases historically where general liability can be over $1 million, you do get an additional 2 million for a max of 3. You can see some of the limits on this policy, and of course the exclusion. So essentially, the membership of your club with USA Curling, you are provided with this general liability insurance, and it will work hand in hand with your current general liability program that you have with your facility. So any questions, Gabby, in the chat that you can see on general liability, or any questions from anybody that are on the call? All right. I'll move Gabby now to our participant accident insurance. So if you'll switch screens for us, please. So with the new membership model this year, how clubs become members and how individual members become members of USA Curling has changed. And so now, individually, clubs can choose to register their members with USA Curling, or you yourself could register yourself as a member of USA Curling. So a value add of membership is the participant accident insurance. So with whatever membership you have with USA Curling, we provide you the participant accident insurance. A couple things with this. We were able to reduce the deductible from $1,000 to $500, and we were able to provide the same coverage for you. So here is essentially how our participant accident insurance works. This insurance is available for all of our members who, again, are at your club and a member of USA Curling on the playing area, in the competition area, in the ice area. So anything that happens within the arena and an individual, a member of USA Curling, becomes injured, this is when this insurance would kick in. And so I'll give you an example of how it applies. So I had a call last week where an individual was in the curling rink, stepped up off the ice onto the carpet area, tripped and fell, and ended up with a couple of fractured bones, a cheekbone, and some other injuries during the process. So that's within the actual participation area. And this would be an incident where our participant accident insurance would be available. And so essentially, it works this way. If an individual has their own primary health care, then this will kick in as a secondary insurance. If they do not have primary health care, then or primary insurance, then this will kick in as their primary. And so in an example, we had a case a year ago where someone had injured their knee, required a reconstructive surgery. The expenses were quite high, in the $35,000 to $40,000 range. And then, as you know about your copay and coinsurance, they ended up with an out-of-pocket of about $4,000 or $5,000 at the end of the day. And so what this insurance provides now is, using that as an example, their primary insurance would kick in. They had out-of-pocket expenses in $4,000 to $5,000. They would pay the $500 deductible, and this insurance would cover the remainder of their out-of-pocket expenses. So again, it can be used as a primary when they do not have any health insurance, or kicks in as a secondary. And the thing I like about that this year is that we were able to reduce the deductible. I had a conversation a week ago with a member of one of our clubs, and the individual had about $1,800 in excess insurance coverages. And so it would have been, this was under the former policy, would have been $1,000 out of their pocket to pick up $700. This year it's $500 out of pocket, and then the rest is covered. So that's how our participant accident insurance works. Again, this is a value out of membership, and it is available only to those who are registered members of USA Curling. So on the flip side of that, if you have an individual in your curling rink who's a member of your curling club, but is not a member of USA Curling, they would not be covered by the participant accident insurance. All right. And so again, the numbers are up there on the screen. You can see what it covers basically per benefit, and you see the limits. Gabby, are there any in the chat, or are there any questions from anybody on the call right now?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay. One of the questions I get quite often is with special events that you run, where it may involve people from the community. It might be a learn to curl. It might be just an opportunity for individuals to come in and get a chance to participate in a corporate event. In those events, the general liability insurance still covers you as a facility, but the participant accident insurance is not in effect if those people who are participating in that learn to curl or the event at your curling club are not members of USA Curling. So that's a question we've had quite a bit over the last few weeks as clubs get into full swing of operations. So that's basically what we have on participant accident and our general liability. What we were able to do too with our broker is we have made available a directors and officers package, and that information will be available this week on our website. So most of our clubs do have a directors and officers insurance. You basically usually have cyber insurance, your inland marine, which is like if you're hauling equipment somewhere and you get in an accident, your inland marine will cover you. You're going to have your property insurance, and most of you do have a D&O, a directors and officers. And if you don't, I would encourage you to take a look at the information, because the directors and officers insurance can be very important. It protects you against liability should a volunteer member of your board, say a treasurer or somebody else, end up using or misappropriating funding or using it for personal gain. Then this is where your directors and officers insurance is. It's one of the areas where it can help protect you. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. If you don't have it, take a look at what we're able to make available to you with our brokers, Dissinger Reed. One thing I want to talk to you also about with the participant accident and the general liability insurance is whenever you do get information about an incident. So if you have a general liability, the example I gave earlier where somebody slips at the door on some ice in front of the door and they injure themselves, or an injury on the ice, I encourage you to reach out to us immediately. I had 2 claims this week from injuries that took place before December 1st, one in mid-November and one in the middle of October. And a lot of insurance policies will have a window where you can submit a claim. Our former agreement was a 20-day window. We now have a 60-day window, or they have some great language in there that helps us where it says, or within a reasonable amount of time, which allows us to say that sometimes when the injury takes place, we don't know what the medical coverage is going to be. We don't get the paperwork from the insurance companies for amount of time. But here's one thing I would encourage all of you. Whenever you do have a reported incident, whether it's a personal accident insurance that takes place, a personal claim that takes place out on the ice, or you have a general liability, is that you reach out to me immediately at USA Curling, a quick email to me, and then we can get the process rolling. Because once we are notified, we can help you get the paperwork and the documents necessary to you for a GL claim, but also make sure that we're getting the correct documentation and paperwork to the individual who suffered the accident in your playing area. So in working with our insurance company today, we were talking about a bunch of different scenarios. And one of the most important ones is as soon as we hear something, let's help that individual get their paperwork in, get it completed, let them work directly with our insurance company so that as soon as they know what their needs are, we can assist them financially. So we'll be sending out a memo on all of our insurance after this week on some of the FAQ, some of the frequently asked questions, as well as some of the do's and don'ts here. But one of the things I can't stress enough with the claims and some of the conversations I've had over the last couple of months is making sure we get the process started so that we can make sure that our membership and your club, if it's a GL, a general liability, can get the funding that they need as quickly as possible. So that's really it on the three types of insurance that we do have available right now. Gabby, anything in the chat that you can see?
We do have one hand up from Chris.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead. I've got a couple Chris's on the call.
I'm Chris from Lake Tahoe, and I have a question. We used to, whenever we had an incident on the ice, we would do an incident report.
Yep.
Or do we just reach out to you right away, or do we still use those old forms that we have?
No, we will have a new incident report that is available, but I also want you to reach out to me so that just even a quick email to say, hey, just let you know we had this happen, and then I start logging it, and then I can track it for you and make sure you're getting the things that you need. But yes, we've got our new information ready. We will have an incident report. We do have general instructions on how to file a claim for participant accident, as well as the actual claim document itself. They'll all be available on the website by early next week.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and again, just for me, just the reason I'm asking, if you have an incident, you just let me know, because then I can start tracking it as well. We had a claim that was filed a month ago, and it wasn't getting handled with the speed that we thought it would. I did a follow-up on it, and we were able to get them to kick it into gear and start processing it a little bit quicker. So it just allows me to keep track of it for you as well. So, and I see another hand raised, Brett.
Yeah, Chris, Brett Jackson, as a former club president, I'll just tell you that in my experience, just having your own incident form, an accident form, is probably a good idea, of just keeping record and track of everything, even before you send the claim on to Craig and USA Curling. I just think it's a good practice to make sure you record everything and have a clear understanding of what happened, how it happened, and then what Craig is referring to is obviously what is necessary for the claim to be submitted through the insurance. But just for the club's sake, keeping track of that information and having an incident report available to be filled out is always recommended.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Brett, because one of the things I found is there can sometimes be a gap in who gets the information, and then is it going to be reported or is it going to be recorded? Had another situation already where there was an injury, the individual who was injured went to the facility manager, reported, hey, I think I'm injured. I think I may have broken my wrist. The information did not get to any of the club leadership initially, and then there was a follow-up later, about 3 or 4 weeks, where the individual reached back out to the club and said, hey, did you know about my injury? And they did not. And so the key there too is the participant accident insurance relies on the individual to to work directly with the insurance company, but we need the member club to let us know about it. So it's a great example there, Brett, of making sure you have your own incident report, get all the details that you need, keep it on file, and then get it to me as well so we can get it into our system. And then just so you all know too, helping me is Kenzie McKenzie out of our national office also works in insurance, and either she or I will be the ones that will be working directly with you. So David, I see you got your hand up.
I sure do. I just wanted to ask a couple clarifying questions on the incident report form you mentioned. And I should also share that I'm from Silicon Valley Curling Club. We're an arena club, so we have slightly different concerns, but a lot of them are shared. So
Sure.
The incident report form that you're mentioning is going to come out in coming weeks. Is that something electronic? Is that just another PDF or paper form that we should be filling out? What's that modality?
Yeah, everything will be electronic. So what we're doing with our insurance company now, even like on the certificate of insurance request, everything is an electronic document. So if you need a certificate of insurance request for your club, and if you're an arena club, quite often that building needs your proof of insurance. So everything's electronic, and it gets emailed directly. You fill it out electronically, and there's a downloadable form. They have a glitch in their system, but right now we're emailing them directly to them for certificate of insurance, and they send that directly to you. They have a master list of our member clubs, so they know, for example, if there's a request coming from you and you're a member club of USA Curling, then you're going to get your certificate of insurance. With the other things like the incident reports, it will all be electronic as well. I just reviewed the documents this week from Dissinger Reed Hub on the participant accident. So again, it'll have instructions for filing as well as the electronic application, and then you will get that information to the individual who was injured, and then that person sends it directly to the insurance person. There's 3 people that are identified for us with Dissinger Reed Hub, but Carlin handles most of our cases, and then they will work directly with your member who had the accident. So yes, everything will, for David, be an electronically fillable document and then be sent either to us or directly to the insurance company.
And sorry, just based on what you said, a couple clarifying questions. You mentioned, I didn't quite understand the organization you were mentioning there with the 3 people. I assume that's like a go-between, or is that just a different insurance provider that I missed the name of?
Dissinger Reed, they're a division of Hub. They're our insurance providers. So everything you're going to see with USA Curling from an insurance perspective is going to be based with USA Curling branding, and Dissinger Reed, our insurance agency. We switched December 1st.
Because I think I saw Everest on some of the other stuff.
Everest is the company that has been chosen for our general liability insurance. We've got Arch Insurance for our participant, and Everest is for participant accident. That's just those are the underwriters, but our company is Dissinger Reed that we use, and the representatives are Dissinger Reed employees. So Carlin works for Dissinger Reed Hub, as does Connie, and we've got Mindy and Christian as well. But Connie handles most of ours with Carlin. So yeah, you'll see that the insurance we're using is an Everest National General Liability and Participant Accident, but our people are Dissinger Reed.
Okay, and then when it comes to those forms, when I think of an incident report form, I think of it in terms of something happened that could lead to a claim, but it's not necessarily a claim. Is that what you're expecting, or are you expecting, no, this is something that will proceed to a claim in all cases?
The incident report just records all the details of what happened. And then if there is an injury and the individual wants to place a claim, then we actually have a claim application that individual would fill out and then send with any of their medical information that they have, any of their bills, receipts, etc., directly to our processor at Dissinger Reed. So the actual recording of the event helps us know that we had it, helps you know what took place. And then I've been in eligibility and compliance for 25 years. I know that the more information you have on the front end of this with the incident, and we keep the records, then the greater chance we are of getting everything done the right way. So the initial report is for us to know what took place, so that when they come to us here at the national office, we can then work with them to get everything they need moving forward.
Okay, a final question then that follows that, which is what do you consider as a best practice, the kind of cutoff or the line to draw about when to fill these forms out? especially recognizing that many of these activities are being put on by volunteers, that one, we're going to have to train on this process maybe, or two, may not have that first instinct of, that learn to curl participant or that league member fell while sweeping. Maybe it was a
Yeah.
hard fall, maybe it wasn't. They said they're fine in that moment. Is that an incident report, or is that a use your best judgment, move along?
I think I would probably go along the lines of best judgment, but what I would do as a standard practice is to say, look, we just want all of our members to know, or like even when you do a learn to curl, you have people sign a waiver when they come into your facility. You want to have some information available that says, hey, if you hurt yourself or you become injured, let us know. Or in any general information that you're putting out to your members, the membership of your club, just say, hey, just want to let you know that should you ever have an injury, you hurt yourself while you're participating on the ice, we do have a form that we'd like you to complete. Like you said, they might fall on the ice and think they're okay. I just bruised my wrist, and then next day they get it checked and it's broken, and then they're going to need some more medical attention. We do have a window where we do have a timeline. Like I said, our new group is 60 days, but we'll also they know that the language, a reasonable amount of time might be longer than 60 days. So I just think it's a good heads up to let your membership know, hey, if you do have an injury, report it to us, we can track it. And then if you do need to file a claim, we're going to have that information that was fresh in your mind when it happened. Or like I had already, again, 2 weeks ago, I had someone say, hey, I went back after 3 weeks and said, hey, 3 weeks ago, I hurt myself and now I want to process a claim. So we do see that as well. So I just think having that injury report handy and knowledge that it's available for people to get the details when they're fresh in their mind when the incident happens. I hope that helps you, David. All right. Anything else we've got from anyone? Gabby, do we see anything else in there? Or
Chris
any best
has a hand
practices?
up. I don't know if
Okay.
it's an
Yeah, Chris,
old
go
one
ahead.
or a new one.
Yep,
Okay.
I got another question. I thought I understood you to say that only USA Curling members are covered under the individual. Now,
Yes.
so Learn to Curls, we are not covering those people?
The participant accident insurance, because of the change in the membership, is no longer like it was in the past. The participant accident is an insurance that's only available to the members of USA Curling as a value-added membership. The Learn to Curls and corporate events that you have would be handled under general liability, but not the participant accident insurance.
Okay, so they're still covered under the general liability?
Yes,
Even for on ice? Ice?
No, that would fall into the general liability categories. If they did have an injury on the ice, then they would be relying on their own health insurance.
Okay. Okay.
So Chris, maybe I can clarify.
Yes.
There's two different types of insurances here, right?
Right.
One,
Yeah.
the insurance that the club gets, the general liability insurance that Craig is just talking about, is protecting the club from claims against the club for injury that happened in and around the facility. The participant accident insurance is something that benefits the individual, right? And is protecting the individual from the injury that they sustained. So the individual USA Curling member is supplementing their own insurance through the personal protection plan, as opposed to the club getting the club liability insurance and protecting the club from claims against the facility or the organization from activities or injuries that were sustained. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought before though that when we had Learn to Curls that they were covered on the ice also. But I understand now that if they sign the waiver, which we always have them sign a waiver,
Yep.
then they're responsible for anything that happens on the ice, right?
Yeah, and I'm familiar with what you're referring to because there was language with the former insurance provider, that Learn to Curls would be covered under participant accident.
Right.
I do know that isn't the case now, and I don't necessarily know if that might have been accurate in the past, because when you really look at insurance, what you're talking about is the coverage and the risk. And so I'll give you an example. Chaska here in the Twin Cities, a newer 6-sheet facility, does 300 to 375 corporate events a year, 25 to 40 people in a 2-hour window. So if you do 375 corporate events, that's a lot of people that insurance companies don't know what the risk is, don't know how many. So most often don't have participant accident insurance that is blanket insurance. It's based on membership numbers. And so we were able to get a really good policy with a lower deductible for our members to help them should they be injured while participating. And like Brett had mentioned too, our general liability kicks in to help you and your club with any other incidents that you might have.
Okay.
All right, let me see. Could say Chris, that one's gone. Anything else? I think Gabby, we're good.
We
Dustin
do
had
have
a
one
comment.
question in the
Dustin,
chat,
okay. Yeah, go ahead.
asking if you could restate the limits for insurance categories that are covered so I can share my screen again.
Sure. Yep. And we'll have these posted. General liability is per occurrence is $1 million. We've purchased an excess liability insurance for the then bumps that up. So for each occurrence, it provides an extra $2 million on general liability. So now each occurrence has a $3 million limit instead of a $1 million limit. And Gabby's got those up there for you with the $1,000 deductible. So that increases our overall coverage per incident. Okay. And then on the participant accident limit, so we'll switch to that one, Gabby. Excuse me. The participant accident insurance, you can see that we have a $500 deductible, and you've got a 100,000 aggregate, and you've got a 20,000 on death, and you've got a 50,000 on medical excess. I think at Gabby, we also might have the excess liability program that you could show. That's in between the two that I just talked about. So really what it does, again, it's you have your own facility, general liability insurance. As a member club of USA Curling, our general liability insurance is also in effect. And you can see now that the excess policy that we purchased per occurrence takes you or provides you up to $3 million of additional insurance on the general liability side.
Craig, can I ask a clarifying question on the general liability insurance?
Sure.
If I think about a dedicated curling facility, this all makes sense to me.
Yep.
If I'm an arena club, how does this general liability insurance apply to me?
Works exactly the same. So the arena club is identified, they identify the facility that they use. And I think if I'm not mistaken, Silicon Valley uses a couple facilities, but the arena club, whatever facility an arena club uses, our general liability insurance will cover them for all club curling activities in that facility. We also have had a couple of clubs, true brick and mortar clubs, and some arena clubs say we often have activities at a different site that's not our traditional club or not our main arena club. Are we covered? And the answer is yes. Wherever you as a member club hold your events, whether it's at an arena, your dedicated curling club, or at an alternate site that's not your primary site, or it's an additional site you use, our general liability insurance will cover you.
So I think David had a question, and then there was a question in the chat from Chris.
David?
Yeah, mine's real quick. It's just, are we going to talk about waivers and best practices there later in this, or is now a time to ask about that?
Go ahead and ask away.
Okay, pretty much just, we've been routinely using the waivers provided by USA Curling. In the past, we did it based on a per league basis, like whatever people signed up for, which kind of worked out to quarterly. We've transitioned to annual because we've tried to move away from paper, and the electronic systems all have a cost associated. Is there a required periodicity of those waivers from your standpoint, or anything like that?
Is it required what? I missed the middle part.
Like a period, how often you expect waivers to be completed by a covered person or a participant?
Well, when you have an individual become a member at your club, they should be signing the waiver. If you're doing Learn to Curls or you're doing any other kind of events, before anybody participates, they should sign the waiver.
Sure, but then often you have this kind of gradient of participants that will start in a learn to curl, come back for either sparing or some other activity, but they're not quite a member yet. What's your stance on, do they sign every time there? Is that once, as long as it's within a time period, like acceptable? Is it good for
Well, I
life
would
once
say
they've
this.
signed once?
I would say this, we had a case where an individual was asked to come in and participate. It was in league. The league was short a person. They called a friend. The friend is not a member of the club, not a member of the of USA Curling. That individual had an accident, injured themselves. They're not covered, okay, by insurance. The participant accident. Now, what I would tell you on your waivers is, if it's your member, you have them sign their member waiver. If they do a learn to curl, then they sign for your learn to curl. If somebody comes in for an event and is not a member, any individual that curls in your facility, whether they're a member or not, or curls in one of your events, you should have a signed waiver on file. So the learn to curl waiver would have covered that person for the learn to curl, but if they end up coming to you and participating in your league and they're not a member, you should have them sign the waiver because they're participating in your league, okay?
Okay, I just want to square that. For us, at least, we just have one generic participant waiver. So for our members, for example, we've said this is it for the year.
Yep.
For our current, like up until now, our learn to curl participants, we're saying, hey, for the next year, anytime you curl with us in our organization, this is that waiver. Is that acceptable? I'm mostly just.
Yeah. If you have
Yeah.
that information in your document that says you are participating in a learn to curl or you're in a community event and this will cover you, yes. Some organizations will do a waiver that is event specific and just covers that event. Okay, so yes, if you're going to, if that's the route you're going, you may need to be very detailed with that. But I would tell you too that it's in your, obviously everybody wants to increase their membership. And so just make sure that when in doubt, you get them to sign it. If they're in the learn to curl and you've got it documented that they've signed it, that will work. I will double check with our insurance company too on the waivers, and then put that in our FAQ for you. But I'm quite certain, as long as you've got it clearly identified, it is for a learn to curl or these events at our facility, then it's going to cover you because you've got it documented in the waiver document. Okay.
Okay, that's awesome. I just want to share that for us, at least.
Yep.
When we change the onus from it being every time they step foot to, hey, here's this clear period, and we moved to electronic, we went from kind of a dicey compliance with waivers around maybe, probably 3/4, 80, 90%. We were trying, but people would always just kind of, you get swept up into just got to get the event done, especially in an arena where you've got time limits. We're now at 100% compliance. Nobody steps foot unless we've seen all those things come through. So just finding that balancing point is what I'm most interested in, and I really would appreciate that follow-up. So thank you for the guidance.
What we're also working on right now is an electronic document that you can use for multiple people rather than an individual waiver. So we're working with to put that together. So you have an electronic document, you do a learn to curl. Let's say you have a laptop or a tablet at registration. They put their information in, they put an electronic signature in, they acknowledge that they have read the information, and then it came at the request of one of our clubs, could we do an electronic master document instead of individual waivers? So we're working on the details of that too. I hope to get that ready in the next couple of weeks. All right, what else do we have? Any others that you can see, Gabby or Brett, David?
Yeah, we have a couple in the chat.
Okay.
The first one, who is responsible to file an incident report, the club or the member, and how does the member submit medical expenses that are not covered under their personal insurance?
Okay, so we're going to start with general liability first. If you have a claim under the general liability, remember the general liability insurance is available to member clubs. The club collects the information, and then we'll work directly with Kenzie and I at the office, and we'll make sure that it gets processed with Dissinger Reed. If it's an accident claim, you'll want a participant accident claim. There are two documents. There's an application for the individual who was injured, and there are filing instructions document. And so you'll do an incident report, keep that on file, send a report to us that lets us know that there was an accident in the competition or playing area. And then the individual who was injured works directly with our claim people, Connie or Carlin or Christian at Dissinger Reed, and they will work with that person at Dissinger Reed, your injured member, and get all the correct documentation that they need to process the claim on their behalf. So once the incident takes place, we get them the filing instructions, the application to file a claim, and then they'll work directly with our agents, and the agents will work to make sure they get all they need, the right medical documentation, etc., insurance documents, and then process it on their behalf.
One more
Gabby, was there
question
another
that
one?
I think is, yeah, related to David's. How often do members need to sign a waiver? Is once per year enough?
Yeah, a member one per year is enough. It's, you're actually having them register once a year. They're not registering multiple times a year, so you're good on the one. The individual event waivers, we recommend for those that are for non-members, and then we'll work with the curling, with our insurance group, and to make sure we get the right documentation using David's example of covering multiple events with one waiver for those learned occurrals. So essentially, once a year is enough for your members. All right, anything else, Gabby, you can see?
That's all I see.
All right. Well, I will let people know that we've got this recorded. I'll be listening. I'll be out in New Jersey for our men's and women's national championships next week. And Kenzie and I will be pulling the recording and building our FAQ with some of this information, as well as the questions and scenarios that we've already received over the last couple of months. And we'll get those posted on the website. The new forms will be available, should be available now. It's just a matter of getting them on the website. And if you have any questions at any time, just reach out with an email or a phone call, and we're more than happy to help you. So appreciate everybody who joined us tonight. Appreciate you giving up 35 minutes on a Thursday night. And then hopefully you won't need to use us for the insurance, but just know that we're always there as a member club or for your membership who are, if they become injured. So that being said, we'll end it now, and we'll end the recording, and just wish you all a great weekend, and hopefully we'll see some great curling out in New Jersey next week. Thanks for all who attended.